With Naira redesign and also the first scarcity biting harder each day, the APC presidential candidate have said all this is to sabotage his presidential election. Good morning and welcome to the Dailies on Network Television International. I am Sarah Elisha and Rachel Tans is here with me. Good morning, Rachel.
Morning, Sarah.
Thank you. We're live on Facebook and also on YouTube, so you can do well by following us on all our social media handles also. And you can drop your comment on our Facebook and YouTube, and later on the show we will open the phone line so you can be actively involved in all that is happening here in the studio. And I'll be taking the first paper, which is the Leadership newspaper. NJC clears 84 judges, 9 heads of court, 4 appointments. You can read more of that story inside the Leadership newspaper. Aviation workers strike won't happen again. This is coming from the federal government. You can read more of that on page 34. And we have a trending story that says World Health Organization urges fight against substandard medical products. And we have federal government earmarks 21 PDP heads for fresh primaries. You can read that on page 10. And the big story, Naira redesign, first scarcity targeted at me, coming from Tinubu with the right Joe. And then we have the President Muhammadu Buhari support for APC flag bearer unquestionable. This is coming from the presidency. I know when I saw this comment coming from the APC presidential candidate at saying that the Naira redesign and also the first cast is targeted at him. I mean, I believe that not just him, we have other political parties that are also part of the presidential election. So, of course, I believe that if the APC will say targeted at him, the PDP will also say targeted at them, the Labour Party will say same, Kwankwaso will say same, and SDP and many other political parties that are vying for that position will say same, because with the Naira redesign, you need to see the queues in banks, so you know that lots of people are running short of cash, because if you cannot use the new currency, lots of, like say yesterday we saw in the paper, Kekena, Pair, banks, and even some shops have placed a notice to say that they are only going to be receiving the new currency, and we can see with the new currency is not even in circulation as it should be. So, you know, when I saw this coming from the presidential candidate of the APC, I believe that this is affecting everybody, not just the APC. But then he's entitled to his opinion to feel that it's targeted at him. But I believe that the CBN or the first scarcity is not actually a deliberate act, even though we've been fighting it. We've been calling on, you know, the NNPC to make up ways to see how the fuel will be in circulation. We saw fuel is almost getting to 400 naira. They said if the subsidy would be removed, it would go to 800 naira. And all of these are some of the things. I believe that rather than say it's targeted at you, is to look inward and see what can you do, because presently you are in the APC and the present administration is also the APC. So that means you have to go back and check the people you're working with, what is the problem. If you can make life more, you know, bearable for Nigerians by making sure that before the forthcoming election we'll be able to have the fuel. It's not about trekking to a polling unit. I believe Nigerians don't have a problem with that, but what happens after the election is what everybody's looking forward to. So we just hope that CBN will play their part, make sure that this new currency and the various bank ATMs are dispensing the new currency, because even as of yesterday someone told me that he got the old currency. I began to question, what would you now do? We have just barely 6 to 5 days to the end of, you know, January, when the old currency will not be accepted. And then I saw cyclists going around on social media that 30th is the last day that the old currency will be collected, because banks would like to reset, reset their machines so they'll be able to start working on the new currency. So with all of these, and then some banks have even taken it upon themselves to open banks on Sunday from 1 to 4 p.m. So, you know, these are kind of a way banks are trying to help citizens, but then we have to look inwardly. What is CBN doing to make sure that life is more, affordable for everybody at the end of the day? So we'll keep our fingers crossed concerning that, and we hope that the APC candidate will not feel that it was actually targeted at him. It's everybody that is being affected at the end of the day.
The APC since last year have turned out to be like the party that has been outspoken and on negative things, to be precise. I remember how they kept on attacking INEC, telling INEC that they are not ready, even when INEC kept on saying we are ready, but every negative "you're not ready" comment kept on coming from the APC. And then coming forward to this statement, you wonder because we know that the president, the CBN governor, has the backing of the president, and we know that the president is also an APC member. That's the party that is currently administrating the country. So are you indirectly saying that your own candidate, the president, doesn't want you or is targeting you with the Naira redesign, because we know that the CBN governor, the CBN in general, had the go ahead of the president to do whatever they are doing as it is now. So I wonder if you watched his words before saying it, because the CBN governor just not acting on his own. He has the backing of the current president to do everything, starting from the policy last year and the redesign. So you coming out as a candidate from the same party with the present president is like you're saying the present president want to sabotage your election plan, and then it doesn't make sense. But just as you said, every candidate should feel threatened, because when you look at the policy, it's not good for politicians. We know how vote buying is a thing. We know how money is being used to make people vote. We know how the system has been working, and this is something INEC has been trying to fight. And I believe that now that you can't use the old Naira note, you have to go and swap or change whatever you have presently. Then now you have a limit to how much you can withdraw. So indirectly, the CBN has made INEC's job easy, because INEC have been talking about vote buying. And in as much as some votes will be bought, but I believe that how much of that kind of damage has been reduced if they would have the purchasing power of 1 million voters in the past. Perhaps now it's dropped down to 500 because of the limits on withdrawals and cash in circulation. So I want to believe that in as much as it's bad timing for a lot of individuals, businesses and all of that, is still the right step in the right direction. It will not be easy for these politicians. The others are not voicing out their grievances about it, but I believe that Bola Tinubu was the most outspoken. However, him personalizing it is where I don't think is the right way to go about it, because you're not the only candidate that will suffer these policies at the moment. But yeah, he's entitled to his own opinion, and however, it wouldn't change the mind of CBN anyway. You're not even the president yet, so of course they can't bow to you yet. They will stick to what they want to do, and I believe that that's the kind of Nigeria we want, where policies are being made that is needed regardless of whether it is fitting for some specific people or not, but for the whole good of the country.
Of course, of course. Let's look at other stories still on the leadership. Nigeria and Egypt agreed on joint electricity development. That can be found on page 35. And the leadership award, proof we are being noticed, coming from Premium Trust Bank. God won't allow my enemies to win, coming from God won't allow my enemies win the presidency, coming from the Rivers State Governor Wike. So if you want to know more about who his enemies are, you can check page 26. We have a picture story here as well, so you can do well, grab the leadership newspaper, read any of the story that is of interest to you.
On the Daily Sun newspaper, PDP to conduct fresh primary as Abia Guba candidate dies. The writer says Ipezu approves flags to fly at half-mast, suspends campaigns till Monday. It's insulting to brand Peter Obi's sectional candidate, coming from its campaign council. And the big story on Daily Sun, Naira redesign, fuel scarcity ploy to sabotage elections, coming from Tinubu. The writer says, urges electorate to defy scarcity and vote for him. Buhari's support for Tinubu unquestionable, presidency replies Yakase. Still on Daily Sun News, it says reps urge security agency to arrest oil market. U.S. announces visa restriction for individuals undermining democracy in Nigeria. Promises additional sanctions over 2023 elections. At the downside of the paper, you are power drunk, Abia Commissioner tells Onyeje Ocha. You can read that story on page 27, and that's all the news on Daily Sun.
On this day newspaper, 600 young models eye global spotlight audition for Arise Fashion Week. You can get that story on page 10. Sarika government to activate acts prohibiting sensitization campaign on Naira redesign project, and that is can be found on page 34. IUOT Emenike, others mourn. He died of multiple cardiac arrests, his family reveals. The big story is still coming from the APC presidential candidate. Petrol scarcity, Naira redesign ploy to sabotage my victory in the election. Let fuel be scarce. Change ink of Naira. I will win, declares the former Lagos governor. Atiku to Tinubu, currency redesign has destroyed your billion van plan and insists attacking president won't save his fading campaign. And that you can find all of that story inside this day newspaper. And the picture story here, we can see the second Dakar Agri Summit, which we are aware that the president left this country on Tuesday for a summit in Senegal. And we can see him with some other stakeholders during the summit of agriculture. We hope that the summit will help us to do something much more better in our agri sector. And that's all on this day newspaper.
On Nigerian Tribune, Ikone Abia PDP governor candidate dies, and his death is a big blow. We will abide by law in replacing him, coming from PDP. How his death will impact G5. Unidentified helicopter kills cause in Nasarawa. US imposes visa restriction on Nigerians, undermining democracy. COVID-19 has been on increase since December 2022. World Health Organization raises the alarm, and you can read that on page 11. Again, gunmen attack checkpoint, kill 2 policemen, VIO personnel in Imo. The big story on Nigerian Tribune, fuel scarcity, Naira redesign plot to sabotage election, coming from Tinubu. The writer says Tinubu shedding crocodile tears, attacking Buhari won't save failing campaign, coming from PDP. Presidency knocks Yakase, says Buhari supporting Tinubu. Still on Nigerian Tribune, why I dumped ABC. This is coming from Bindo. Hoodlums chase out Funke Akindele from Lagos market. Jando expresses worry over increasing attacks on campaign train. We will never allow aviation workers strike again, coming from the federal government, and you can read their plan on making sure there is no strike on page 19. Nigeria at the risk of incurring additional 1.8 trillion naira debt as Senate fails to pass 22.7 trillion naira Ways and Means bill. You can start on the front page and continue on page 4 of Nigerian Tribune, and that's all the news on Nigerian Tribune.
On the Punch newspaper, federal government budgets 1.2 trillion naira to service the CBN loans. That can be found on page 20. Banks ration new note, Emifele shuns the reps. That you can find also on page 19. Voting Atiku will be mistake, says whistleblower. And we have on duty hike, used vehicle import fall by 40%. Follow up that story on page 11. Redesign first scarcity designed to scrutinize the polls. Tinubu trying to blackmail Buhari, coming from Atiku campaign. Allegations on fair fuel crisis, Peninari says marketers. And we have suspense as tribunal then decide Adikele Oyetola suit on Friday. Parties back US visa ban on election riggers. That you can find on page 13. And you know the story we see, where I'm seeing, even though it's part of the big story, the allegations of fuel crisis is Penary says the marketers, and we can see that this is not the first time we're hearing that DSS have been signed to arrest those that are behind the fuel scarcity. But we're yet to hear arrest. We're yet to see them on our papers. We're yet to hear what are the proof of those that are behind that. And we saw marketers even blaming that the price that they buy the fuel from the depots are even higher. So you can't expect me to buy something at, for instance, 200 naira and still buy that. I still sell it at 200 naira. I'm supposed to make a gain out of it. But then the prices are not even favorable. And then at the end of the day, we can still see that not only is it very hard for you, but then it's eventually affecting everything. So imagine, just like the APC presidential candidate is saying, even though it's not for him, but it's for everybody, that you have to buy food at a very higher price. Transportation is going up every day. The hike is just unbearable for everybody. So I just hope that at the end of the day, they look inwardly to see what really is the cause of this fuel scarcity. If we're having petrol, and then we saw in the papers recently that our quota has really gone a little bit up and we are the highest in Africa, then I'm still yet to trace what really is the problem that till date we are still having fuel scarcity. We started having this issue since last year February when we had the fuel I think when the fuel was contaminated, and then before it went round at the end of the day, and then eventually little by little it was being addressed, and then from February last year we've not been able to really trace the real problem, and the fuel has been scarce down till the end, and then we got into the new year, still we're still having fuel scarcity. So I just hope that if the president can actually, because him being the minister of petroleum, you need to go down to the root level. What really is the problem? What is the root problem of this fuel scarcity? If we're having it, why is it not in circulation at the end of the day? Are we having some marketers holding this fuel for some particular set of people? The same way we're feeling about the Naira redesign, that some politicians are actually making contact to some banks and having them their Naira, their own not being swapped, and then the rest of the people are unable to have access. There are ATMs that have been deserted because of that. So all of these things, I just hope that it's not just about giving directives, but then who are the ministers in charge of this? Who are the agents in charge of this? Go down to the root level and do this. Enough of the mouth talk, enough of it being on our papers. We need proactive measures being taken. We need actions being taken to really, really trace down this, because it's just a matter of time. You know, when you keep frustrating the life of the poor people, when they get tired of it, they will retaliate, and their retaliation might not be funny. So I just hope that the president, his ministers, the agency, do the right thing at the end of the day.
I think it is also a very slippery one for the DSS, because you wonder why haven't they made any arrests here despite the directive coming from